Hey, hello, and welcome back or welcome. And what I got today is an interesting way to make your first person shooter a little more original and unique rather than just having the basic type of gun, you know. So, and uniqueness is key when it comes to any kind of game, really. If it's original and unique, then it's going to do better than something that's humdrum and ordinary that's been seen a million times, you know. So I thought it'd be fun to make a saw blade launcher for the gun. Okay, and as you can see, um, the gun right there is just a few cubes, kind of shaped like a gun, and then you got the spinning saw blade kind of in the front of it, and the gun can launch a spinning saw blade out and kill these enemies. And we'll get into how that's done in a minute, but let's just see it shoot off like this. Now you can hear it spinning, obviously, but you hear it stop once you launch it, and then it does a reload sound, and you get that spinning sound again from it spinning on the gun. All right, and these guys here, they just stand there and take it because it's not about enemy code and stuff. This is about, the gun and launching a saw blade. So let's kill this guy here. Dead. Okay, how about you? All right. Now, obviously, I haven't just dissolve away and scream and do a pain animation, but you could, cut off body parts. I know there's programs and stuff where you can slice models. So, I mean, you could cut off body parts at the hit point or things like that, or have the cut the head off or legs, do something like that. Or you could have the blades like stick in them wherever it hits, find the closest vertex on the model and stick it in them or something. But, that's up to you. But I just wanted to give you an idea of something you could do that would make your first person shooter a little more unique. So that's what we're doing. All right. So, like I said, the gun itself is just um, it's three cubes. This cube, and this cube. All right. And you don't see the back here because it's attached to the camera. So you only see the front of this middle part, and then it's got the top and the bottom, which you really don't see in game until you launch it, because the saw blade is in between this part and the bottom part. But again, it's just cubes, basically. I made, if I was going to make this into a real game, I would have modeled a gun or something, but I just did that for this tutorial. And then the saw blade is uh, it's just a cube with the mesh renderer taken off and the box collider taken off. All right. And that's because it's on the gun. Okay, that's not the one that shoots. This is the one that just kind of shows on the gun. So I took off the box collider because we don't need it. And then the blade, it's just an image I found online, a free ping of a saw blade. And I found one that worked for me, and I brought that in. It's got a transparent background, and I animated it, as you can see here, to just turn like that. Okay. And if we play the animation through here, you'll see it's doing its animation thing. And one thing you want to note is down in the curves, you want to make sure Because when they start, I don't know why this is so fucking big here, but when they start, they're kind of curved, and it affects the animation. It makes it like, start off a little slower, then get faster, then slow down, and it doesn't rotate right. So just make sure in your curves, you just click on each end and manipulate that part to kind of be straight. So it's a straight diagonal line from here to here, and that helps with the animation. All right, and that's all that is. And then basically the projectile you fire is the saw blade that's sitting on the gun, except in the prefab, I have the box collider turned on. All right. And when you shoot the gun, it creates that prefab at this kind of gun one's position, and then it does a ray trace out forward from the camera, and it moves it in that direction. Now, most times when you do a projectile, you'd want to use a rigid body and add force to it. But I was finding that I was finding that it was affecting the rotation weirdly. So I changed it just to um, a move towards, like a translate function, to move it towards the hit point of the trace. And we can get into that in a second too. And then I just put on a canvas with a little dot on the screen. You can see here. I'll show you. See the little dot there? I'm pointing at that guy. Now it's right at this guy's head. And now it's on his chest. It's just a tiny little dot there in the center of the screen. And that's where the blade flies off towards, is the reticle. Chest. Kneecap. So that's what I'm doing for the movement, is just move towards. And yeah, so if you want to do a saw blade like this, just find one online you like for an image, and create a box that you can put it in. And just remember that, like like if we take this saw blade out here, drag it over here, I'm going to unpack it. Okay, so yeah, yeah. So if we take this one here, I want you to notice that the scale is going to affect whatever you put inside it as a child. So the scale should be uniform. All right, whether it's 1 or 2 or 1.34166, as long as it's pretty much uniform, you're good to go. All right, and that will keep the image uniform on it. And just, yeah, drop your image in there, and then rotate it the way you want it, and then animate it to rotate around. And give it a box collider with I'm using a trigger, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for the enemy layers. So if you notice on these guys, they've got a layer named enemy with a lowercase e, and they're also got a tag named enemy with an uppercase E. And the saw blade, like I said, includes the enemy layer, all right, and nothing else. And then it excludes everything but the enemy layer. Okay. And if we go into the code, all right, here's the gun control. Now, the player itself, show you real quick. The player itself, I gave it a basic first-person controller I made. You can see kind of the head bob and footstep sounds, jump. So it's more like a first-person controller, you know. But really not going to get into that. I mean, I can if you want, but it's basically just, I created a capsule. I gave it a character controller, and those are the settings on the character controller. And in the code, I don't think I have that one out. In the code, this one, I believe. Let's make sure. Yeah, the simple first-person controller. So this one here. Yeah, so I mean, if you want to see it, I made this real quick just to have a first-person controller, and I mean, it's a good controller if you want to copy it. So you got the audio source for the footstep source and the audio clip, the clips. It's an array, so I can have more than one footstep sound. And then a public float for a footstep interval, a time in between playing the sounds, and then a private float for a footstep timer. I use the timer with the interval. And then we've got another couple of floats for a bob frequency and a bob amplitude. And those are just settings you can tweak for the head bob. And then again, another timer that works with these. And then a private vector 3 cam initial local position. And then you got some more floats for move speed, mouse sensitivity, jump height, and gravity. Then we get the character controller component, which I showed you I put on there. And a private transform for the camera. And two more floats for vertical velocity and camera pitch. And this was when I was going to do adding force to the rigid body, so I don't think you need this. But oh no, this is the player. So yeah, this is for moving the player. I'm sorry. And then in the start, we get the controller and the cam and the cam initial local position, and we lock the cursor out. We should make it invisible from the start, but I didn't. Uh, and in the update, we run these functions: look around, move, handle head bob, and handle footsteps. And each one does what it says. The handle footsteps deals with checking to see if you're moving and playing the footstep sounds at the proper intervals if you're moving. And then this function, play footstep, works in conjunction with that one. Then the handle head bob does the same thing. It handles bobbing the camera up and down. All right, right here, if you want to copy that. Then the look around is for the mouse to look around, obviously. And if you wanted this for like a gamepad, you could use get access raw down here instead of just get access. And then move, again, it just handles the movement. So, it's right there. And that's what the controller is. But the saw blade, the gun controller, let's do the gun controller. All right. So we get a reference to the camera, the player camera. So we can do the trace, okay, to know where we want to shoot the projectile towards. And then we get a public game object for the saw blade prefab. And then a transform for the fire point where you want to initiate the prefab you're shooting. And then this is the same thing, the public game object gun blade. And I just made it a game object so I could set it active and inactive after you fire it before it reloads. So really I could have used this as the fire point, but I started out with this, so I just added that. And then we got Fire Force, which again, you don't need this because um, that was for a rigid body projectile, how much force to give it. So you don't need that. I don't need that. We don't need that. And then you get the fire cooldown, which we do need. That's the amount of time in between when you shoot before it reloads and you can shoot again. And then max distance is how far out the trace goes. I set it to 100 for default. In update, we got a fire timer. Plus equals time.delta time. So we're taking that timer right here and we're increasing it every frame. And if the fire timer is greater or equal to the fire cooldown, then we can reset the gun's gun blade, saw blade to active true, okay, because it's been reloaded. And then we wait to see if input get mouse button down, fire 1, and if it's true, then we fire the saw blade with this function, and then we reset the fire timer to 0. Okay, and then the fire saw blade right here, like I said, we do array, so we do an array from the camera out up to the transform.forward of it, and we're creating a vector 3 called target point, okay, and then if the raycast out hit max distance, then we create the target point is equal to the hit point of the ray, or else target point equals ray origin plus ray direction times max distance. So if we don't hit anything, it just does the ray and just does it at the distance, even if it doesn't hit anything, is what it does. So either way, it creates that target point, whether it hits something or not. And it creates it, if it doesn't hit anything, it creates it at the max distance, which I think is 100. And then we get a vector 3 again for direction and equal it to target point minus fire point dot position dot normalized. And spawn and launch the blade. We create a game object, call it blade, and equal it to instantiate saw blade prefab, fire point position, quaternion Euler. So instead of just quaternion identity, I'm setting it specifically to the rotations I want it to be for the saw blade. And then we set gun blade, set active to false because we've instantiated the projectile blade. So now we're turning off the gun blade like we shot it out. All right. And then saw blade mover equals blade.get component, saw blade mover. And that's a script I'll show you in a second. That's what's attached to the saw blade prefab that gets shot out. So we get that script, all right, and then we set the target point on it from this code. And then we destroy the blade after 4 seconds. And the saw blade mover, all right, is just a public float for speed. This says 20, but I think I set it down to like 10 in the inspector, but you can put it at whatever you want. Then a private vector 3 for the move direction, which is what we set here, target point. And then a private bool has direction, set equal to false to start. All right, and then we got a public void set target, vector 3 target, move direction equals target minus transform dot position dot normalized, and has direction equals true. Then in the update, if has direction does not equal true, return. All right, but if you do have a direction like we just did, then it sets the transform dot position plus equal to move direction times speed times time.delta time. And then down here, it's just an on-trigger enter event and for collider other, and it checks to see if the other compare tag is enemy. All right, and if it is, then it says basic enemy, which is the code that's on the enemies. Basic enemy equals other.get component in parent basic enemy. And then if enemy does not equal null, we trigger the enemy hit function in that. And that's where they just perform that pain animation and dissolve away. All right. And that's right here if you want to see it. Yeah, so the hit, we just start a coroutine right here, and we get the dissolve time, and float T, anim.play, die, we set it to play that kind of pain animation, then we play the sound of it screaming. And then we get the skin mesh renderers, because there's more than one on this model, and so we can get the materials. And then we do a for loop with the materials, and we uh, just so we can get the materials, basically, is what this is doing. And then while t is less than dissolve time, float dissolve value equals mathf.lerp 01t divided by dissolve time. For each variable mat array in materials, and that's why we got the materials up here, mat.setFloat dissolve, and I'll show you this dissolve material in a second, but dissolve value. So t plus equals time.delta time. So what we're doing is we're starting the value from 0 and moving up to 1 for the dissolve effect on the material. All right, and then it does a yield return null, and it destroys the game object when it's done dissolving. Okay, so that's why it's while t is less than dissolve time, because once it's dissolved all the way, then we can destroy it. And the material is, I got this off the asset store. It's called Shader Graph Dissolve, all right, for URP. So you can find that on the asset store. It's free. And down here in materials, we're using this material here. And I just tweaked the colors. I made it like reddish for the dissolving and the base color of black. It was purple and like yellow or something when I first downloaded it. But as you can see here, all right, we have a bunch of inputs for like the edge width and color and intensity and all that. And right here, the dissolve, if you move it up to 1, you'll see them all kind of dissolve in and out. And that's as easy as just downloading this shader graph dissolve package from the asset store. Again, it's free. And then dropping that material onto whatever you want to dissolve. And then you can just utilize that in code like I did here by the, undercase slash dissolve right there. So that's how you access it in code. So that's all they're doing. They just play a kind of pain animation, and then they run this dissolve from 0 up until 1 and destroy themselves. But yeah, it's got a lot of cool, this is actually a really cool dissolve shader. It's got a lot of cool settings you can do, like the edge width here, and you can change that. Or you can make it really large, but I don't like it large. Something like that is fine. And yeah, that's it, I think. Let's see it one more time. So yeah, that's the saw blade launcher. So, like I said, the whole idea is to, if you're making a first-person shooter, try to make it kind of unique. Throw in something that's, you don't see every day. And who knows, maybe we'll make this into a short series. When I think of a cool kind of first-person gun that's not ordinary, maybe I'll add it to this project, and we'll keep doing it as long as I can keep thinking of original guns. And if you're wondering what's going on with the Diablo series, right now I'm working on the inventory, and that's taken a while, so I want it to be right, and I want it to work right and look right, and that's a very complicated part I'm on right now, and it's going to take some time. So I thought I'd do at least something in between, you know. And plus, I'm going to be very honest with you, I'm getting a little burnt out on it. So, I definitely need a break from it. So that's why it's cool to kind of do some other things. And yeah, so that's that. If you liked it, then please take a minute to go hit the like button right now, and I'll thank you in advance for doing that, and I appreciate it. And for all the subscribers so far, you guys absolutely rock. You're the reason I'm doing it, and you guys are coming through with subscribing. So thank you all for that. And yeah, until next time, peace out.